Have you ever sat in a circle of friends while they traded vivid, colorful stories of their third grade classrooms or the specific scent of their grandmother's laundry detergent, only to feel a cold, hollow static begin to hum behind your eyes? You find yourself nodding along, perhaps even manufacturing a generic smile, but internally, you are frantically leafing through a book where the first 100 pages have been surgically removed. You don't have a story about a broken arm or a favorite childhood pet. You have a series of blurred Polaroids that refuse to come into focus. You might remember the color of a front door or the specific way the light hit a particular carpet, but the narrative, the who and the why of your own beginning, is missing. This is not the standard fading of time. This is a specific, pointed silence. You feel a sense of shame, as if you are a hollow vessel or a person who started existing only at the age of 15. You wonder if you were so unimportant that even your own brain didn't think you were worth remembering. You are standing in front of a mirror in a dimly lit hallway, trying to find the child in the reflection of your own eyes. You trace the line of your jaw, looking for a ghost, but the air in the room feels heavy and still. There is no sound here, only the low hum of a world that expects you to have a history. You reach out to touch the glass, but the surface is cold and unyielding, much like the wall your mind has built around your earliest years. In this private space, the absence of your past is not just a lack of information. It is a physical presence, a weight that sits in the back of your throat. You try to push through the fog to grab onto a single coherent week from when you were 7, but the harder you look, the faster the images dissolve. The world often looks at this blankness and labels it as simple forgetfulness, a lack of sentimentality, or even a lack of intelligence. People might tell you that everyone forgets things from when they were young, or they might suggest that you just weren't paying attention. They are wrong. This is not the standard decay of time that thins out the details of a distant afternoon. This is a targeted, systemic omission. When your mind deletes a decade of your existence, it is not being careless. It is being protective. Society expects a linear story, a clear progression from child to adult. And when you cannot provide it, they treat it as a defect. You are not broken. You are not heartless. And you are not the only one who navigates the world with these vast, silent gaps in your timeline. You are not a person who lost their past. You are a person whose mind performed an act of preservation by keeping the past at bay. We invite you now to step out of the light of judgment and into the soft shadows of this quiet space. Put down the burden of trying to remember and let the frustration of the I don't know dissolve into the cool air. Welcome to Tea Psychology. In this sanctuary, we do not see your amnesia as a hole to be filled. We see it as a monument to your endurance. We are not here to force the memories back into the light, but to understand why they were moved into the darkness in the first place. We are here to translate the language of your silence. Your body records the history that your narrative mind was forced to abandon. To understand why you cannot remember, we must look at the neurobiology of developmental amnesia. In a stable environment, the hippocampus acts as the brain's chief librarian, meticulously indexing events with time and place tags so they can be retrieved as stories. However, when a child's environment is characterized by chronic stress, emotional neglect, or unpredictable threat, the librarian is overwhelmed. The data shows that high levels of stress hormones, like cortisol, actually inhibit the hippocampus from functioning during prolonged periods of distress. While the librarian stops filing books, the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, remains wide awake. This creates a phenomenon where the brain bypasses explicit memory, which consists of the facts and stories, and instead stores everything as implicit memory, which manifests as raw sensations, physical tensions, and sudden emotions. This is a brilliant survival adaptation. If a child cannot change their environment, the brain determines that remembering the pain would only lead to a state of perpetual collapse. By suppressing the narrative, your brain allowed you to keep functioning, to keep attending school, and to keep attaching to caregivers who may have been the source of the very stress your brain was trying to hide. Behind these layers of forgetting is the legacy of the unspoken. To understand the scars that formed this habit of silence, we must look at the specific environment where a child's truth becomes a danger to their survival. For many, this amnesia is the result of growing up in a home where reality was a moving target. If you were hurt but were told you were fine, if you were frightened but were told you were being dramatic, or if you witnessed chaos that was later denied by the adults around you, your brain faced an impossible choice. It had to choose between its own perceptions and the people it needed for food, shelter, and safety. It's recorded as a loss of faith in the self. You learned to stop remembering because remembering was an act of betrayal against the family system. If the truth made your caregivers angry or distant, the most efficient way to maintain the bond was to stop knowing the truth altogether. The silence you carry today is the remains of a bridge you built to stay connected to people who could not handle the weight of your reality. You didn't lose your memory. You traded it for a seat at the table. The data shows that this habit of checking out often stems from a prolonged state of dissociation. When a child is trapped in a situation where they can neither fight nor flee, the nervous system engages a final, desperate strategy. It severs the connection between the person and the event. You learned to float away, to become a quiet observer of your own life from a distance. When you are not fully present in your body, the librarian in your brain cannot record the details. You are living with the aftermath of a childhood where leaving yourself was the only way to stay. Your body remembers the specific rules of the house you grew up in, even if your mind has forgotten the address. You may not remember a single specific argument, but your shoulders tighten the moment someone raises their voice in a nearby room. You may not remember being ignored, but you feel a crushing sense of worthlessness if someone doesn't reply to your message immediately. These are somatic echoes. Your nervous system is still operating on a map of a world where you had to be small, quiet, and hyper-aware of everyone else's moods just to remain safe. The cost of continuing this habit into adulthood is a profound sense of fragmentation. Because you cannot see the line that connects your past to your present, you feel like an actor who was dropped onto a stage in the middle of a play with no script. You are forced to manually construct your identity in real time, scanning the faces of others for cues on how you should feel or who you should be. This constant improvising is exhausting. It consumes the energy that should be going toward your creativity, your relationships, and your own joy. You are running a massive background process of active repression, holding a heavy door shut against a past you are terrified might overwhelm the person you've worked so hard to become. The silence tells us that you often feel like a fraud, waiting for the world to discover that you have no roots. You look at your achievements and your life, yet they feel separate from you, as if they belong to someone else. This is the lingering shadow of the off switch. When you learn to disconnect from the pain, you inadvertently disconnected from the joy, leaving you in a world that feels muted, gray, and perpetually out of reach. Behind these layers of fragmented time, the path toward healing does not begin with a shovel. It does not require you to dig through the debris of the past or force the vault doors open before you are ready. The first movement of recovery is the radical act of acknowledging the void without trying to fix it. Your body records the relief when you finally tell yourself, "I do not remember, and that is exactly how my brain kept me alive." When you stop fighting the amnesia, you stop the internal war that has been draining your energy for decades. The data shows that integration happens not through the recovery of facts, but through the recovery of the self in the present moment. you can begin to bridge the gap by becoming a witness to your own somatic responses. When you feel a sudden wave of sadness or a sharp spike of anxiety that seems to have no origin, instead of dismissing it as random, try saying to yourself, "This is a memory that doesn't have words yet." By validating the feeling as a historical document, you begin to provide the mirroring that you lacked as a child. We invite you to view your life not as a broken line, but as a landscape. You do not need to see the roots of every tree to know that the forest is real. You can begin to build a new kind of continuity by focusing on the person you have become despite the silence. What are the values you hold today? What small things bring you comfort? Every time you make a choice that honors your current needs, you are writing a new page in a book that belongs entirely to you. You are moving from being a detective of your past to being the architect of your future. Your body records the moment you begin to feel safe enough to exist in the now without the constant surveillance of the then. Self-compassion is the medicine that thins the fog. Can you look at the child you cannot remember and offer them a quiet thank you? Thank them for being so brave that they stepped into the shadows so that you could walk into the light. You do not need to see their face to know they are a hero. When you offer kindness to yourself today, that kindness travels backward through the silence, reaching the child who felt invisible. The silence tells us that you are not a half person. You are a complete being who simply had to pack away certain parts of your journey to survive a difficult terrain. You are like a star that had to collapse into a different form to keep from burning out, yet your core remains untainted. You are the consciousness that survived the storm, and that consciousness is whole, vibrant, and worthy of every good thing the world has to offer. You are not your amnesia. You are the resilience that necessitated it. As you prepare to leave this quiet sanctuary, we invite you to stay connected with this community. Subscribing to Tea Psychology is a small symbolic gesture of commitment to your own peace. It is a way to remind your nervous system that it no longer has to hide. We are here to walk beside you through the silence, providing the translation you were never given. If you know someone else who carries the weight of a missing past, please share this mirror with them. So many people are drowning in the shame of their forgetting, never realizing that their silence is actually a masterpiece of survival. By sharing this, you are giving them the permission to stop digging and start breathing. Leave a comment below with the word "here." Let it be your anchor in the present. We do not need your stories to know your value. We only need to know that you are here, in this moment, safely occupying your own skin. Let this be a gathering of those who are building lives on top of the silence, showing the world that a missing past does not mean a missing future. The silence of the room is now yours to keep. As you look in the mirror tomorrow morning, don't look for the ghost of the child you can't remember. Look at the eyes of the survivor who is standing there now. The childhood plan has reached its conclusion. You have survived, and you are finally, safely, allowed to be exactly who you are, right here, right now. Stay gentle with your heart. We will be here for you in the next quiet space. Thank you for being part of Tea Psychology.